Hello NinBuzz, how are you guys doing today? My name is Shadow of Resho Gaming. I'm here today to bring you another inciting, not exciting installment of the new community choice. Last week we asked you guys what your favorite Nintendo controller was from the many controllers out there in the world, so let's just go ahead and jump right into the results. Coming in at number 5 with only 4% of the votes is probably one of the most iconic controllers in existence is the classic NES controller. I see this controller all over the place. iPhone cases, backpacks, lunchboxes, actual controllers. This thing is everywhere. This is like the representation of what Nintendo is and where it got its roots from. It's the most basic of basic controllers that it can be. It only has 2 buttons that do anything and then your D-pad. It was simple and it did the job. Alright then, coming up at the number 4 spot with 10% of the votes, jumping up quite a bit, is the 3DS. Now the 3DS itself is not a controller, but we're not focusing on the games or the looks, but we're actually focusing on how the controls work. 3DS control-wise was really awesome. It had 4 buttons, A, B, X, and Y, which most of your GameCube controllers and your Gamepads and all the other controllers have, so it's really easy to get accustomed to if you've ever played any other video game before on a modern console. And then of course you have your D-pad and your L and R buttons, but what really made this controller special is the fact that it had a circle pad on it. It was one of Nintendo's first handheld games to actually not have a D-pad as the standard way to control the game. And it is a big improvement from its predecessors, and I don't know how I would have lived without it. Alright, moving on to number 3 with 13% of the votes, one of the newest controllers out there, we have the Gamepad. Now the Gamepad is probably one of the most unique controllers out there. Not only is it a controller, but it's actually a screen so you can play movies on it, or play the games on it, or it can be integrated into the game that you're playing. It has a lot of different uses besides just the controller. Now the controller, like the 3DS, of course has the 4 main buttons A, B, X, and Y, but it also has 2 analog sticks that you can use, like most normal modern controllers, and a D-pad that comes with it, L and R buttons, and Z and L buttons. Now the controller feels really good. It fits in your hand nicely, and it's not as heavy as one would think. It's actually rather light for what it is. Now the only complaint that people do have is that there is a giant screen in the middle, which while it does help at times, some people think it hinders it a little bit because they like to have their hands a little closer together when they play. But that's just personal opinions. I honestly think it's fine and it doesn't really affect anything too bad, and it kind of helps a little bit to have something that you can just look at from time to time. But for everybody who disagrees, let's go on to number 2 with 15% of the votes, where we have the Wii U Pro controller. Now the Pro controller is basically a gamepad without the screen. It has all the same buttons, all the same analog sticks, the D-pad, L and R, and the ZL and ZR buttons. But it's more akin to something like an Xbox controller, where it's that same design, where it is a little bit more of a smaller controller. So some people think this is the optimum controller to have for the Wii U. I personally don't really care. I think the gamepad's fine. But this one is basically, if you're not a fan of the gamepad, go ahead and grab this one, because it's the same thing, except without the screen. Now then, the moment we've all been waiting for, coming in at number 1. This was actually quite a surprise to me. I thought the GameCube controller would win by like 30% of the votes and like fly past the competition, but no, it didn't. The GameCube controller actually won with 51% of the votes. Did I trick you guys? Did I fool yous? Because I hope I did. But yes, the GameCube controller did end up winning with 51% of the votes. I was not surprised at all. It was the controller I expected to win. I just kind of wanted to see what the other controllers were, but you know. Just the layout of everything is perfect, and I don't know why a company can't make a controller that's really similar to this and it'd be amazing, but it doesn't make any sense to me. One reason why it is perfect is because the A button is right where your thumb is supposed to be, and then the B button, the Y button, and the X button all surround it, so you can really quickly press whatever button you want really smooth and really quickly. And of course you have your L and R buttons, which are in the perfect position, and your C stick, which is not far away from the buttons, and it's just like the perfect combination of everything. Alright guys, that is your top 5 Nintendo controllers. I hope you picked the GameCube controller, because if you didn't, then, well, then you lost, and then everything just sucks now, doesn't it? But anyway, let's go ahead and move on to next week's question. This week we're going to go back into the past a little bit. Since a game in this series was recently released on the Virtual Console, I thought, you know, let's go back and let's explore this series. So what I'm going to be asking you guys is, what is your favorite Earthbound/Mother game? Now, while 2 of these games have come out outside of Japan, Mother 3 is still only Japan exclusive, so for you to actually know what it is, you would have to seen the game online or played it on an emulator. but I will still accept that because it's an awesome game. So go ahead and leave that down in the comments below, and we will cover it next week on the new community choice. But until then, make sure to like and subscribe to NinBuzz because they have a lot of awesome content to provide to you. Also, make sure to check out my personal channel where I do a lot of random games and whatnot. But all those links are down in the description below and at the end of the video, so make sure you click them all. But until then, guys, thank you so much for watching this episode. Make sure you have an amazing rest of the week, and I will see you guys next week.